Natsuki Subaru is one of the most hated characters in anime history, and after watching all of ReZero, I realised something. The reason that you hate him, it's your fault, because if you genuinely hate Natsuki Subaru, then the answer is pretty simple. It's because he's you.
What?
In isekai, we're used to a very specific type of main character. Overpowered chads, surrounded by women where everything goes their way. They're dropped into a fantasy world that feels more like a reward than a challenge. It's an escape for these guys. It's a way to imagine a better version of yourself where everything goes right in your life. And look, I'm not judging, I get it. We've all been in those depressed states where we honestly want to live in a different world, but Subaru, he's not that. He's painfully human right down to his flaws. A lot of people I've seen have dropped ReZero because of how Subaru is, especially at the beginning. They see him as incredibly annoying, low-key creepy, embarrassing and cringy. Hell, he's really arrogant and expects rewards for his actions. But here's the thing, I'm not actually going to refute those points because they're true, but it's also on purpose. Now we have to acknowledge that ReZero is an isekai. It's the most popular anime airing this season, but this is how people originally saw it. So this definitely contributed to the audience that it got back in 2016 when season 1 came out. We had the likes of Overlord, Tanya the Evil came out soon after. Hell, even No Game No Life. But what separates Subaru from the main characters of those shows? Well, those characters are very much played like power fantasies. These characters don't struggle, they dominate. Honestly, I'm a big fan of all these shows, by the way. Hell, I've even covered a few of them. But I'll admit that the main characters are all overpowered in their own ways. Overlord has a literal skeleton god in charge who never loses and everything goes his way. Tanya was reborn with outrageous magical abilities and is fiercely intelligent. So no matter what she goes through, she still has that going for her. In No Game No Life, the characters are so smart that they defeat God in episode 1, so that's already a strike against Subaru. He wasn't reborn with insane magical abilities, there's no glow-up, no hidden power, no destiny. He's just the same guy he was on Earth. I mean, I believe it's explained that he has a broken gate, meaning that using magic properly is actually impossible for him. Yeah, he has one broken power, sure, but it's not a good thing. Another thing that separates Subaru is that when these other characters are reborn, their lives are way better in the majority of cases. Sora and Shiro are put into a world that revolves around winning games, which is all they care about. Momonga was a loser in reality, so becoming a king in a game world was a win-win. And you can even go as far as Sword Art Online. Kirito was literally put into a game where he put his whole life into it. But Subaru, yeah, his life wasn't the best, but he still had a family that loved him and cared about him. This feels too real, because we might fantasize about living in another world. Hell, I literally have autism. Of course I thought about using isekai as an escape. It's fine. But Subaru makes you feel uncomfortable because deep down, you know you wouldn't do any better than he does. Subaru makes you feel uncomfortable because you're forced to imagine losing everything you cared about and then getting nothing in return. Subaru fails over and over and over again, so of course he feels less cool because he's actually human like us. But we do have to talk about why people actually hate Subaru. The point is that people feel cringed out by him immediately, as I mentioned. For one, he's creepily obsessed with Amelia, he's weak as hell, he's insanely desperate instead of just being a giga chat about everything, and despite all this, he's still quite arrogant. He expects rewards for his actions, especially in the beginning. He isn't completely noble like most main characters. Look at when he keeps helping Amelia despite her never asking for it, and then he gets upset when he isn't rewarded for everything that he went through despite Amelia not knowing about any of it, and she doesn't owe him anything. It's honestly a very depressing scene, and it's extremely hard to watch, and even I'll admit, on rewatches, I kinda skip through the scene, but it is an incredible scene for that reason. One thing I really disliked about Subaru early on was his endless naivety. When he's in distress, he just expects people to help him, even if it doesn't benefit them at all, because why would they help him? We see people be so kind-hearted in anime that we forget that real people aren't always selfless, and more accurately, they aren't willing to risk their lives and the lives of others for no reason. Look at Cruz, Priscilla, and Anastasia. Subaru has nothing to help them, but then he gets pissed when they don't help him. He treats suffering like it's a currency, thinking that because he's hurting, the world owes him a win. And that's just not how the world works. Now, you probably think I'm going to disagree, but I'm not going to. The haters, as I've been calling them, aren't wrong. He is cringe, he is desperate, and he's extremely annoying, but that's actually a good thing. First of all, him being cringe is 100% true, but remember that he's in a completely new environment, putting on a mask to hide how lonely he is. is. He's a teenager who was a complete shut-in and was suffering from depression. Of course he's going to be super cringy. This makes him hard to watch, yeah, but it also makes him a lot more relatable. How desperate he is also just as hard to watch. He can't brute force his way through problems, and he isn't some genius. He has to try over and over again, and occasionally he's going to break down. But that's called being human. You aren't stone-faced. We all have moments of weakness. Even his obsession with Amelia is something that we've all likely related to at some point. Maybe not to the same level, but she was the first person who was kind to him, and he actually developed a connection with. He followed her because, guys, what else could he do? He had nothing. He didn't get put here with some grand goal. He just teleported, so he clings to her, and without Amelia, he feels completely lost, which leads to the infamous breakdown scene. Deep down, he's just hoping to not be completely alone again. Helping Amelia was his only reason for existing, and it's being taken away. It's selfish. His selfishness makes him a lot more human. We even see him getting kicked when he's down by Julius, which shows his weakness even more. That's why Subaru doesn't like seeing Julius now. He doesn't hate Julius, he hates being reminded of that horrible moment because this is Subaru's lowest point. That scene isn't cringe, well it is, but it's what most people look like when they break completely. So the real question is, why do you hate Subaru for acting exactly how you would? I'd even say that Return by Death is a personification of what being human is. You're weak and you just have to keep trying over and over again until you hopefully get it right. It's your actions meaning nothing. If I was in Subaru's shoes, I would have actually lost my damn mind. Imagine fixing everything only to die and lose all of it. Your friendships, your progress, your sanity, and you're the only one who remembers. There are many times where he achieves so much, has amazing experiences, and then loses them all in a second. I'm not even talking about the pain of dying. Imagine trying to stay sane when the world keeps resetting around you and you're the only one who remembers. This is what makes Subaru a lot more impressive to me. If I was as weak as him, I would have given up, brutal honesty. Subaru was way better as an MC because of these flaws, not in spite of them. I find this guy way more relatable than some isekai MC surrounded by beautiful women and insane abilities because, spoiler alert, that ain't me and it ain't you either, don't lie to yourself. All these moments are showing the worst of humanity, but when you're in these situations you have to put on a brave face and push through. You don't hate Subaru because he's unrealistic, you hate him because he's too real. Now, although I've been defending his flaws, Subaru has some of the best character development I've ever seen in anime, not just isekai, but period. To understand why he grows, you have to understand where he started. Before he was transported, Subaru was the definition of a gifted kid burning out. He was naturally talented, but stopped trying at, well, everything. Starting to live just to make other people laugh, becoming a hollow shell with nothing interesting about him. The dark thing is, his headspace was very similar to those who struggle with, let's just say, dark thoughts. He lived entirely for others because he didn't care about himself at all. He was drowning in the shadow of his legendary father, and being an isekai didn't fix that. It just moved the problem to a world filled with magic. And let's be real here for a second, the author, Tappei, is actually evil. He confirmed in an interview that Subaru's parents back on Earth actually think he was kidnapped or just vanished. They're still there, crying every single day, hoping the police find something. Tappei even said that they would have pulled him out of the depression if he was still there. Like, why do that to us then? Like, that was so unnecessary. This is further proof that Subaru being isekai was not a reward or a relief from the tragedy he was stricken with on Earth. It got worse. When he gets to Lagunica, he has nothing to live for, so he latches himself onto Amelia. He lives entirely for her because he hates himself too much to live for, well, Subaru. After he his relationship with her, he realises that he's still the same loser he was on Earth. But his main character development comes, or should I say starts, because of the goat herself, Rem. Her speech to Subaru shows us the man he actually is. Subaru has a full-on breakdown here, and it hits so hard because I've been there, man, and I'm sure a lot of you have too. The feeling that no one needs you, but in his case, he just feels like he's bringing death and destruction to everyone he touches. I love how he tells Rem it's not easy to just give up, because it's not. Admitting that you're weak and useless is like the most painful thing a person can do, but he doesn't realise that this realisation is his true strength. The fact that he struggles so much not to give up proves his character. The scene is Subaru finally agreeing with you, the people who hate him. He knows he has zero power but wants it anyway. He knows he's just the wannabe big shot who hasn't actually achieved shit. When he said, "I hate myself" out loud, that's truly rock bottom. He realises that he wasn't reborn, he was just put here. He wanted to be the main character and he realises how arrogant that actually was. This is when Rem flips the script on him though. She sees that even when he's drowning in self-loathing, he still reaches out to save others. I mean, Rem literally murdered him, and he still chose to love her and try and save her and Ram. This is the moment he accepts his weakness. He doesn't get some bullshit power-up, he gets honesty. He accepts his selfishness, and he stops using his feelings as an excuse to make Emilia pity him, and decides to become the man that Rem wants her to be, the man that Rem sees. This is when the true story starts. We see instant growth. He stops whining and hoping people will join him and starts strategizing. And the moment I fell in love with ReZero was shortly after this. It was the fight against the White Whale. When Subaru, the weakest guy there, is the first one to charge this monster that's been feared for centuries, it's legendary. He inspires an entire army because they look at him and think, if this random, powerless guy is charging forward, what excuse do I have? He uses his weakness as a weapon, and this makes him a lot more terrifying. I mean, imagine being Subaru's enemy. He has no special powers, but somehow he always wins. That is inspirational as if I've ever seen it. Honestly, it's fake it until you make it, taken to the extreme. Eventually, he becomes the badass that he wanted to be, but in a much more respectable way than he ever imagined. Hell, his whole speech in Season 3 to inspire the people only works because he's weak, because he's just like them. So it hits them a lot harder than anyone else could have. He tells them to rely on others the exact same way that he has, and even if he's weak, that he'll fight. Which again, you will see in anime. You'll see moments where they're like, I need my friends, and stuff like that, but it never really hits for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes it works, but a lot of the times I'm like, bro, you're so much more powerful than all of your friends. What are they gonna do? And it always feels shoehorned. Whereas for Subaru, he needs them. Like, he actually needs them or he won't accomplish shit. And it's honestly awesome that he's so open to just saying that he's weak and that he won't give up no matter what and that he isn't special. But as said in Black Clover, there's nothing special about him, but that's exactly what makes him so special. Subaru is willing to do anything to win, even if he isn't the star. Julius even says it as well. The villains lose because they underestimate Subaru. They see him as nothing, the same way we did at the beginning of the story, and that's when he surprises you. He's very honest about how he's trying to look cool, and honestly, that's hilarious. By the end of Season 1, he goes from an unhealthy obsession with Emilia to realising his actual feelings, which is still a true selfless love for her. Subaru tells her how much he loves her, and he doesn't even need a reply. He admits that he was selfish. He admits that he was lying about doing it all for her just to look better. He finally says, I'm doing this for me because I love you. And that honesty makes him way more respectable than any perfect protagonist. Because even though before I was critiquing Subaru, saying how selfish he was and stuff like that, I was more talking about his worst flaws. He is obviously a very good person. And I hate to bring up Kirito again, but he was actually pretty cool at the start of Sword Art Online to me, because he struggled. Now, I'm not saying suffering makes someone a good character, don't get me wrong, but people started hating him when things just went his way all the time. Character development can only happen when there's actual adversity. You can't get a better character if they've never gone through anything or never go through anything. And Kirito seems to just lose his humanity. Like, one of my favourite scenes in anime is him listening to that message on Christmas. That is extremely depressing, and it works really well, and then it just falls off a cliff afterwards. Anyway, Subaru never loses his humanity because he never stops struggling. He always has stuff to overcome, and I'm not going to cover every single one of his best moments because I want this video to be the reason that you give him another chance if you haven't already. He's not a god, he's not some Chad, he's just a guy who refuses to stay down, and the bottom line is, Natsuki Subaru deserves your respect for this. This is literally a guy who says he'll die over and over again and experience hell if it results in a better outcome, even though it's almost destroyed his soul several times. But ReZero, in my eyes, is largely a story about Subaru realising that he is too worth saving. I mean, that's the reason Satella mourns so much regarding him, because he doesn't value himself at all. And this is something he has to realise himself. So yeah, Subaru is genuinely such a peak character. He has way more development as well that I couldn't fit into this video. Genuinely, I'd say he's possibly my favourite character of all time. Just gonna say it. So I am looking to cover more ReZero content. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe and leave a like so I actually know. So yeah. Now that Season 4 is airing, I want to start covering it. And if you want to see more isekai content from me, or more just content in general, then make sure to click this video on screen right now, and be sure to join my Discord if you want to.